What made you want to be at Norwich United? What made you kind of come on and be technical director? And what define your role for me, Toby?
Absolutely. So it came a little bit out of the blue, if I'm being honest to myself. You know, I've known Steve for a number of years, you know, previously being a boss of mine along many moons ago. Okay. A random missed call one day and you're thinking, well, this is a bit odd. You know, you pick it up and you know, we got speaking to Steve about this amazing opportunity that kind of presented itself. And, you know, when speaking to Steve and what he wants to try and do with the club as a whole, not just the first team, but as a whole, it was something that I went away and thought, wow. And it was an opportunity where I definitely mulled it over for a long time because it wasn't an easy one, because I'm thinking, you know, I've got my job, I've got my family, how am I going to tie all this in? And, you know, and that's, I think, the beauty of it. I think the flexibility is there. And I think you've got to be in this day and age with football at this level. It's you know, your family and everything does come first, and your life as well. And that goes with the players as well. You've got to kind of, you know, get that happy medium. But absolutely, I think if the next thing is football and what you love is football, then an opportunity to work at a massive club like Norwich United can't be sniffed at. And I weighed it up and I spoke to my friends about this opportunity, and you know, it wasn't long after I spoke to them that I thought, wow, I can't miss this opportunity to work with such a, I guess, a prestigious club at this level, and what opportunities were there to get my teeth stuck into a project that needs a bit of support, because there's only so many people at the club, and if I can lend a hand along the way, then I thought, well, it's definitely something I've got to try. And that's how I came to my decision quite quickly after that conversation with my friends, and said, look, this is something I've got to do. To answer the second part of your question is what is the role? And I think that's something that gets confused across the whole of the country. You know, what is a technical director? It sounds a bit posh. Or what is a sporting director, or you know, director of football? There's lots of different names for it. And I think the best way, I think I've kind of come to the conclusion of listening to different podcasts and listening to different people kind of sum it up is, you know, I've been brought in to try and knit quite a few things together. So the best way I've heard it described as this is, you know, I've described it like a wheel, a bicycle wheel. So I'm the middle of that wheel, okay, and I've got to try and bring all the spokes of the wheel together a little bit, you know, better and more efficient. And, you know, that's from the first team to the youth sides, to off the field, to the physios, to the chairman, and trying to work together with all those departments and get the best out of them, and try and give new ideas, and try the best to take the groups forward together. I think that's probably the best way to summarize it. It's a big task because all those things take a lot of time, and I don't think it's something that can be done overnight for sure. I don't see it as a short-term project. I see it as definitely a long-term project, but there's definitely some small wins we can put together quite quickly to get things moving in the right direction. So I think that's the best way I've heard it summed up, and I'm definitely taking that forward as the way I look at it. There's not one thing that favors over another. Yes, of course, first team results are important, but if we don't have the other cogs turning as well, then suddenly we can get caught out at the top of the, you know, at the first team level if we're not producing players and everything else for that first team, not recruiting all the time, but producing through the 18s to 21s to the first team, then something's wrong. So that's where I come in from a, you know, not a coaching point of view all the time. I might do a bit of coaching now and again because that's my background, but from a strategic point of view of, you know, how are we supporting our coaches? How are we getting the best out of our physios? How are we getting, you know, the most out of the ground and getting people through the turnstiles? I think that's the role as well, and that's the exciting thing. It's not one thing, which is great.
Yeah, and that's great that it's, as you say, it's quite a broad role in that you can bring together the teams and the technical side, but also looking at building the club as a whole.
Absolutely.
Which all sounds very positive. I guess, so coming into the role, what have been or are your sort of immediate priorities or quick wins, as, or, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I've got a series of what I call quick wins. I think it's the first one is making sure everyone is on the same page. Everyone's kind of pulling in the right direction. Again, that's not easy because people have their own thoughts, their own beliefs, and everything else. But what initially I thought and looked at is, well, the first thing I did was went into the home team dressing room, Plantation Park, and kind of saw in front of me some values. And I was like, okay, so we've got club values, which is amazing. How many people know of these values apart from the guys who access that changing room? So club values are important. That every single club will have some values, and it's not just about the words; it's about the meaning to the teams. So that my first kind of quick win was to make sure that these were circulated to the entire club from top to bottom. And the next challenge is for those kind of managers and staff and volunteers and parents and players is to come up with what they mean to that team, because they're going to mean completely different things for the first team, to the 18s, to the 12s, and to the 7s. They're going to mean completely different things. So kind of the challenge is to find out what those meanings are, and to embrace them and to live by them. And I think, again, not a quick win. It is a quick win for me because I can get that initiated straight away, but that will take time to embed and to know if a player not steps out of line potentially other than the youth department, but in the first team, for example, if you're not embracing those values, it's something we can use to kind of use as a guide to how that player is settling in or that player is performing. If they're not quite embracing those values, that's something we can definitely use to have those people looked at by, because ultimately it comes back to those. If people aren't performing or people are stepping out of line, we need to make sure that we're fully embrace that as a club. And I definitely think that's something which will help if people are all on the same wavelength. So that's for me, it was a positive quick win. Yes, there's going to be things that aren't going to be easy. Without a doubt, there's going to be issues along the way, and it will be a bit of a roller coaster ride. But ultimately, if we can all work towards that one kind of idea of club values, then that's something definitely is already underway as a club. Other things, is my biggest thing is looking at how we can get more people to the club, in terms of people through the turnstiles, club sponsors, all these things that are going to make people coming to the club a better place to be, not just for the first team, but for the 18s, for the 21s, and for the youth teams as well. So how do we improve that offer? How do we improve the experience for the young players who are looking up to the first team as idols? All those things that have happened before, but we need to kind of ramp up a little bit and get more people to come and see what we're trying to achieve at the football club. And we're trying to push this club forward even further than we have done before. And these small steps will help that. And they sound fairly obvious things, but to have someone a bit more focused on it, I think will be a benefit for the whole club, the fans, the players, the parents, the volunteers. I think it will have a big improvement over time. So yeah, those are those kind of things that we'll be looking at. Other things which are naturally happening, and I've had a small involvement in over the short period of time I've been involved at clubs, obviously player recruitment for the first 11, especially the first team, especially, and that's ongoing. Obviously, they've already broke the news of the signings we've had so far, and we won't be doing loads and loads more business, but stuff is still underway, which has been great to be involved with, and that's something I'll be involved with going forward in terms of recruitment and helping support the management team around that. Again, I'm not the fountain of all knowledge, but we'll be looking at other ways of supporting that, and we're looking to build more roles at the club. We know we can't do this ourselves, so we're looking at other new posts as we speak in terms of video analysts and we're obviously fixture secretaries and other things we need to fulfill and bring this club further to the most professional we can be within our capacities in life. And like I said earlier, and as much time we can put in, we all need support on the way. So we're always striving to do the most positive, most professional things we can do it we possibly can to put the club in the right direction.
Excellent. Did you say the values were in the dressing room upon your arrival at the club?
They were already
on
there.
The wall.
They're on the wall already.
Nice.
So, you know, it's not something I've dreamt up. I'm not taking credit for that for sure. But I think, you know, what they were there, but the question for me was, you know, how well are they known? How well are they kind of lived by? The values that we're on the change room, like I said, and we use the planter's name. So again, a lot of P teams do this, and they use the first letter from something. So we've used the same. So planter. So P is for passion, L is for learning, A is for attitude, N is a big one for me, is nurture, T is for trust, E is for excellence, R is for respect, and S is for self-evaluation. And like I said, we're going to ask all of our clubs to do a look at that and what that means for them. Now, like I said, the meanings are going to be different for a 7-year-old or 6-year-old, sorry, to the first team. And yes, some of them might not know what nurture means, but that's what the coaches are there to support them with, and to break that down for them, because we want it to mean something to them. And you know, I'll be working with the coaches as well to do the best way for them to get that across to their young people. And we want them to give us their feedback on what they think it means to them. And then the coaches are in the best place to go forward and to get the best out of their young players. Now, that might be the best way to get them, you know, away from the pitch, and how to support them off the pitch. I'm just as excited to support a young person on their journey off the field as well as on it. And I think that's how we've got to look at this as a club. You know, we're excited to try and support them if they're having difficulties at home, or if they're having difficulties settling into the group. We want them to feel comfortable to speak to their coach and use their coach as a bit of someone to confide in, and so we can support them and their families, so they can understand the issues as well if they've got issues that we need to help with. And I think that comes down, if you're looking at the values, you know, you're looking at nurture, you're looking at good attitude for everyone, you're looking at self-evaluation, so looking at each other and helping support them off the pitch as well as on the pitch, and all of those things that we want out of our players and out of our club. We feel that this really helps enhance that and make sure everyone's on the right path to where they want to go and where we want to go.
That's great. Yeah, and it's from doing these interviews over the last sort of year or so, it does seem almost everyone emphasises very strongly the sort of team spirit and closeness within the first team squad, and how it's the best dressing room any of them have been involved in, and things like that.
100%. I think, you know, when I first spoke to Steve, you know, it's one of the things he mentioned is the dressing room's amazing. You know, we've got so many good characters in there, so many people who can lead. And I'm like, well, we need to be using these people to, you know, empower everyone else at the club, you know, to empower the young people. We need to get the young people in the dressing room at the right appropriate time, of course, but to understand, you know, this culture we've got of a great dressing room, that's so powerful. So how do we enhance that, wrap that up, and share that with the other teams and the fans and the wider community, to say that we're Norwich United, you know, we care, we really can push this club forward, and we want everyone to join us on the journey. And I think that's huge, and that's so powerful. So we've got to just capitalize on that for sure.
Excellent. And if we could just kind of go sort of through your own background. You said you've been involved at a few clubs. What's your sort of, I mean, did you play football when you were younger, and your sort of journey through coaching, and give us your sort of quick biography?
I can't give you, you know, my football background. You know, people will laugh if they're watching this, if you're going to class me as a footballer. I played football. I played for my village team, Mumford Football Club, who are now doing pretty well in the ANCOM. Lovely. Grew up there and lived there until I went to university. So I played for those guys. I didn't make any appearances for the first team. I played for reserve team football at best. But I went away, and before I went to university, I started part-time work at what was then Norwich City football in the community. That's where I started my kind of coaching journey, and went away to university, played a bit of football there for a bit of fun, came back, and my first full-time job was back at Norwich City football in the community. And that is where I have stayed since in terms of my work. So now being Norwich City Community Sports Foundation. Between there, I've played a bit of football, but nothing to write home about. I did okay as a kid. I was all right. I played a bit of county level stuff, but nothing amazing. Yeah. And before Norwich United, I had a small role at Galston Football Club, just helping them out with their media and their marketing. But then obviously when the opportunity came up to take this role on, I felt that it was just too big of an opportunity to turn down. And I was obviously really thankful for Steve and John for their support in bringing me across. It wasn't an easy decision because I just thought it would be too much for me at the time. But then, like I said, once I spoke to my friends, it was just a no-brainer to give this a go and to join a massive club. So yeah, I've been coaching and in sports development I've been at Norwich now for 14 years, which is a long time. And started off as a coaching daily with Steve, who's my boss. And so he moved on to different ventures, and I've kind of progressed through the foundation and on numerous different roles. And I've currently been in my current role as sport development manager for 3.5 years now. And that really includes lots of work within the community from different, young people from the ages of 2 really up to an adult or an OAP to the age of 82. So it's a massive kind of wide range in sport development, and it's something that's completely different every day. So I could be working with young people who are looking for asylum or who are refugees coming across to the country for the first time, who can't speak English, and we're looking to educate them and use Norwich City as a powerful tool to engage them. Or it could be from someone who's, from a rural Norfolk who hasn't got any friends and wants to start creating new friends and bringing them to our social sessions who might not be very active. So again, every day is completely different. And I think definitely from the skills I've learned from working at the football club can transcend into this job, and in terms of helping and supporting and strategically looking at how we can improve the football club going forward. I think it's only going to benefit the club, I hope, with my knowledge and understanding of how kind of that side of football works. Still got to learn quite a lot about the game this side of the fence as such. But yeah, it's an exciting journey. I'm literally just getting started on, and I just can't wait to get the season or pre-season get going, because it's not far away, as we know, and to really get stuck into it, because there's some really exciting plans already, which is going to hopefully help on and off the pitch.
Obviously, you've worked with Steve Eastoe before. You said a long time ago he was your boss at the CSF. Have you worked with anyone else at Norwich United before? Are you familiar with the players on the whole, or is that all going to be fairly new?
Yeah, I've worked with a few. I've worked with professionally. I know Andy Eastoe through mutual friends of mine. Weirdly, I went to university with some of his best friends. So it's just a bit bizarre how we kind of bumped into each other there. So I got friendly with him there, with drinks in our hand, as you can probably imagine. And I know, a few of the other players through either work or mutual friends. Liam Jackson I know of, and there's a few other guys who have been in and around for a long time who I'm aware of. So that would be quite nice to see them. Some of them won't know me, obviously, so that's a challenge. Because I'm not a dressing room kind of guy. I don't think I won't be in the dressing room the whole time. But it will be interesting to try and get that kind of understanding between them, because I'll be working really closely with the first team to how they can support the rest of the club and go and inspire the young people at their training sessions now and again. The first team might not like me for that, but it's so important to embrace that. And I'm sure, we can incorporate some really good stuff, some positive stuff to inspire the young people. And that's just as important for me as playing on a Saturday. So it's vital we have that link, as I've gone about so much. But it's, I'm excited to get to know the players a bit better, to get to know the new players, and to see what things we can put in place to improve them further. Because I know from my discussions with Steve and the physios, we're already doing things that other clubs aren't. But it's about pushing that forward even further to making sure we're one step ahead of the game. And it might not win you 3 points every game, but we're doing as much as we can, as much as humanly possible, with everything that's going on in our lives, that we can push the club as hard as we can.
Mm. And it does, from what you're saying, I can see from your work professionally, and you're saying it's all ages and all groups and things, and that's exactly what the role at Norwich United is going to be, is trying to bring in fans of all ages and all different groups and that kind of thing, and also all ages within the footballing sort of structure, I guess.
100%. I think off the pitch, we need to be attracting people to come and watch the team, because there's nothing better than having fans cheer you on. The players at all levels love that. I remember loving my mum and dad coming to watch me play, and that transcends to the first team love it. Look at Norwich City, without playing in front of fans, that has a massive effect. So, we know the effect that fans can have, and there's nothing better than having fans come and watch you at any level. So that's a challenge for us all, and how we get more people through the gate. Playing well and everything does that for you as well. So that's really important. So having that set up is important. And like I said, yes, the other side of it, all the way through the club, is paramount that we support each other at every level. Of course it is, because without having a successful youth system producing our next players, the club is going to struggle. So that's ultimately the plan for me, is to try and support that. It's not going to be a miracle overnight, but it's definitely something that we can over time help and improve.
What would a successful season look like for Norwich United, or even in terms of your role? What, if you look at it in a year's time, what do you hope to see in place in a year's time?
Okay, so a successful season for Norwich United first team is to win the league. That's simple. There's no other objective. Is to win the league, for many reasons, of course, and ultimately we're trying to gear ourselves up the best we can, on and off the pitch, to do that. There's no point in finishing second, in our opinion. We've got to try and win the league, and I guess the problem is with that, so are 6, 7, 8, 9 other teams. So it's a case of they're all improving. Can we improve off the field? Yes. Can we improve on the field? Yes. So that's aim number one, is to win the division. Not going to be easy, but that's the aim for sure. What does a successful year look like in my role? Well, I think, again, it's fairly simple. It's about providing the single best opportunity for players to have fun, embrace the values, to improve upon themselves as a footballer and as a human being. I think, if they've got that opportunity, is paramount. I think if we can make sure those things are there in a year's time, and we've seen progress in terms of bringing teams closer, we've seen players transition from 18s to 21s, 21s to first team, then we've had success. I think if we don't have succession of players, then there's something not quite working right. And that's something for me to look at and to work with the coaches on, and the recruitment and everything else. But ideally for me, success in a year's time is lots of things, but ultimately it comes down to players. Are they having fun? Are they enjoying themselves? Are they improving as a human, as a player? And are we getting players coming from the 18s to the 21s to the first team? I think that's really crucial for the development of the football club going forward.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, Toby.
Absolutely. Pleasure, Joe. Thanks for having me, mate.